Male Gaze by Wassim Z. Alsindi. Please give it a warm welcome.
Hello, everybody. It's slightly out of place to have such cheerful music introducing this talk, perhaps. So the title of it is called The Chain Male Gaze, and hopefully the reasons for that will become apparent as we go on. But I'm sure you've all heard of the male gaze and the kind of externalities and, unfavorable things that come with that. But what about the chain male gaze? Well, hopefully we'll find out. Not got very long, so I'll try to, give you a survey of what's actually quite an extensive anthropological and philosophical research project. Okay, some pictures of big, strong men and their swords looking into the distance, perhaps thinking about lands to conquer. A short poetic refrain. The church and the network, zeal and time, death and money, all sides of the same coin. I want to talk to you about an interim project that led up to where we're going to, that was called Profit Motives, looking at the false divinity of capital and how it animates motivations and desires in the technology space that might not be immediately apparent. For as long as there's been financial capital, risk and speculation have orbited, manipulated, and harnessed it as narrative feedback machines, simultaneously reading and rewriting realities. Markets exist as a distributed conversation between amongst speculators driven by profit motives and an appetite for divination and prophecy. Today, new strains of techno-colonialism are emerging, which are the latest of a series of echoes throughout Western history. An ascendant cabal of technology elites are attempting to reshape the world in their favor whilst hiding in plain sight behind the technologies that have enriched them. Theirs is a Promethean zealotry without faith, affecting an aura of divine sanction for the purposes of elevating the ego, enriching the chosen ones, and creating empires of various stripes. But was it not always so? I want to read you a short story, fictional speculation about where we might be going in the future. It's called Seething Like a State. Decentralization has a cost, the price of anarchy. The price is always due, but the rewards weren't cheap to reap. So solid CCRU. What most did not expect was that payment would become due at the grandest scales of governance. The Westphalia state, forged under the fire of peer pressure, was ambushed by upstart modes of power, opening new vistas of communication, commodification, and communion. The orientations that nation-states had used to enshrine their power only made it easier to undermine them. The bigger they were, the harder they fell. Brextopia, the European Union, NATO's cave, the United State machine, all returned to dust. The decline in the nation-state in the Roaring Twenties became a canon of canonicity for an entire generation of soul traders. It wasn't even just the bit levers. In those days, there were many networks, many messiahs, many ideologues, all with their own profit motives. So, many of you have doubtless heard of this concept of the network state that has emerged in the last few years. Exit fantasies, arguably fueled by the failure or the shortcomings, the shortfall of the full promise and the dream of Web3. I'm going to read you a short section from Balaji Srinivasan's self-titled book from 2022. A network state is a social network with a moral innovation, a sense of national consciousness, a recognized founder, a capacity for collective action, an in-person level of civility, an integrated cryptocurrency, a consensual government limited by a social smart contract, an archipelago of crowd-funded physical territories, a virtual capital, and an on-chain census that proves a large enough population, income, and real estate footprint to attain a measure of diplomatic recognition. And the magic words in here are recognized founder and diplomatic recognition, well, and territory, I would say. So these projects carry echoes, in my mind at least, of some of the earliest expeditions that set out from the West in search of new territories to conquer and subjugate. So, Many of you have doubtless heard of things like Liberland, Sealand, seasteading institutes. This is the Zahedi-designed metaverse HQ of Liberland on the screen here. There's been so many attempts to make like crypto islands, Bitcoin cruise ships, and they've all failed. It's quite interesting. But what seems to be different now is the level of capital on hand as a result of market success of these technologies to the people that want to reshape the map of the world in their own, to their own preferences and to their own cause. We know that leaders of nation states, we even have leaders of nation states that are cheerleading some of these technologies. Nayib Bukele, the authoritarian strongman in El Salvador, would like to build a Bitcoin city financed by volcano bonds in his country. He's not done it yet, but meanwhile, he's removed the judiciary, removed term limits, and instituted one-party rule. And most of the Bitcoiners are cheering this on. So I ask myself, are we still in this for the freedom? And now, made possible by Ethereum, DAOs, and all the rest of it, we have projects like Aleph, Urbit, and even Praxis. Praxis and on the left, and Prospera on the right. So these projects are trying to build physical cities, private territories, network states, or at least what may develop into the Pelagian concept of the nation state. And it's at this point I want to introduce the chainmail gaze. Today's tech overlords are the descendants of Europe's Crusaders, well-financed, zealous fanatics, wreaking destruction on the planetary other in the name of their greater good. The Vatican sponsored waves of Levantine invasions that began in the late 11th century were the midwife of capitalism, colonialism, and technology as we know it today. With the network state organizational concept, a cadre of powerful ideologues blessed with tokenized wealth are toying with the prospect of reshaping national frontiers, mirroring the desires of Frankish noblemen and their knightly orders in the Levant 1,000 years ago. And that's all the time I have. 7 minutes for 1,000 years of Western history. Thank you very much.